Good afternoon. So, the entire idea about this presentation, see, you have known the topic. As I told you earlier, this topic, so this topic was not important few years ago when we did not realize that even our drugs should be under the pharmacovigilance umbrella. The reason was we are thinking that we can give cause only effect and there can be nothing like a side effect. When you will listen to this talk and to the others coming in the room, you will understand that this is not the case. As you are aware, the topic which I have been given is the perspective of pharmacovigilance in Ayush healthcare healing systems. But here, since the pharmacovigilance largely applies to the drug component, so the why should go away. Okay? Because why, that is yoga and naturopathy, does not have any drug component. Okay? But they can have some procedural flaws as yet, which have not been defined in the pharmacovigilance bracket. So we will be dealing with the A, S, U, and H drugs and how, as a practitioner or as a owner of a pharmacy, maybe in the times to come, you will be owner of a homeopathic medical company or you will be owner of a hospital. What will be the things that you should be knowing and where anybody can check you? It is not necessary that somebody who's from the medical profession can go to pharmacovigilance. Everybody has equal right to report. So it is a method of reporting whatever has been done to you as a treatment, which was either not appropriate or which evoked an undesired reaction or a reaction which was stipulated by that particular drug substance and was beyond the span of action of the drug. If we come to the concept of pharmacovigilance, no one will go. The word pharmacon, as I told you earlier, this is more of a concept of modern science. See why? We don't have to maintain a gap between our science and modern science always. We have to understand our merits and our limitations, and similarly theirs. But what was the difference? If you people are aware, every new pharmacological drug in the modern science comes into the market, and all the rights are available with the company which has done the research and development and brought that product into the market for 5 years. After 5 years, the drug or the formula is in the open market and other people come up with the production. You must have heard of generic drugs. That is the government of India method of producing the known drugs which have already crossed that 5-year limit. In the European world, they put an inverted black triangle on every drug which is still in that 5-year examination period. And they are expecting the people to report everything after taking the drug. Do you think why? One reason is that most of the drugs, except the vaccines, in the modern science are tested on animals, which are lower animals. So the responses on higher human body will be very different. Second reason is that there is always an estimation of benefit risk ratio. How much was the benefit and what was the risk? What were the effects of the drug in terms of creating something new or untoward? So this is a routine practice which is expected there. The patient is to doctor ratio, doctors to patient ratio is very good, but that does not apply in our country. Still, pharmacovigilance applies to all medical systems, including A, U, S, and H, because every substance which has the potential to bring about a change in the body, to heal, has the potential to do a reaction which may not be as good as for one to everybody. So that is the reason why pharmacovigilance is required in every system of medicine, which is giving any external substance to the person who is going to benefit from it. So you can see the theoretical part, all this is available on internet also very well, but just have a brush up. The literal meaning is to keep a watch on the drug. You're taking, but you have to keep a watch. Okay, when you buy any product for your house, for your kitchen, do you keep a watch or not? Or you simply pick it up and bring it to your kitchen? You see the manufacturing date. These days, we see it has got mineral content or not. We see it has got certain chemical substances which are not good for health. Similarly, when you're giving an examination, there is an invigilator who's at vigilance. What are you doing? Are you cheating? Are you writing properly? So this is being vigilant about the drug. That's all. Now, how to be vigilant and what we are supposed to know is very crucial. And this is what is at the post-graduation level. This is expected from the students to know what is the span of pharmacovigilance and how will you react, respond. You can get a reminder. If your drug has done a bad effect and the person has reported, you will get a letter from the department. You can even be interviewed. You can even be, in case you're using any banned substances or any, then there can be legal actions also. But you have to be aware of the facts which are related to it. So as you can see, it was used in France and so on and so forth. Now, what is pharmacovigilance? It is the science which is dedicated to reduce the risk of drug-related harms. So everybody knows that drugs have got harms. Okay, so treatment should be the last option. Preservation of health should be the first. When you have to take a drug, you should know it will have some bad impact. You have to minimize it. And when a drug is in the market and millions of people across the globe are reporting it, their own experiences, then we come out with a filter of the right inputs from the user, not from the companies, not from the dealers, not from the people who are selling. So the purpose of pharmacovigilance is to bring out the best product in the market or to minimize the drug-induced adverse reactions, events, whatever you may call it. Or we can say it simply, to make the drugs the safest. Now, objectives. You know what are the objectives? Step-by-step procedures to achieve our aim. I'll be quick in this. In India, we are doing the pharmacovigilance to know the benefit risk profile. We have a huge poor population. They will not come to doctors. So in the market, if you have a product which is harmful, they will take it. If they are benefited, they can go to work tomorrow. But if we are responsible and come out with a product which is very less harmful or which has a very good benefit risk ratio, then we are giving a good product. Or we can say in the long term, we are reducing the burden of chronic diseases on our people. Healthcare professionals should know ADR. If they don't know it, one day or the other, they are going to come under the trap. Now, we are willing to create an independent evidence. Independent means from people who are not related to discovery of the drug or to its sale or to the profit to the market in any way. So it is you and me who are going to respond and this data will be created. Entire findings will be communicated to the stakeholders. Class, I told you there is an adverse reaction reporting application. I told you. So in that, anybody can report any drug substance which you have seen. Maybe you have used it, not because you have done something wrong, but because in the times to come, you want that such products which have got some harmful effects should be reduced. There are very interesting facts about Ayush drugs. I'll come up with them. I think we all know that carbo veg is not available in tincture, that arsenic is not used in tincture, that we do not use the deep acting miasmatic drugs one after the other. So needless to say, in all systems of Ayush, the concept of pharmacovigilance is inherited. It is already there. It is built in there. How? I'll just relate with few things. And in the later years, the government is planning to create a center for excellence where we can keep monitoring that actually which molecules should go into the market so that if our people consume them, we do not land up with newer diseases. Say, for example, you must have heard that all the people who are taking medicines for GERD, inflammatory bowel syndrome, gastritis, chronic conditions of the gut, finally land up with a lot of cancers, finally land up with a lot of erosions. The reason is that the drug was required to bring down the patient's symptom, but in the long term, the drug has resulted in a higher caliber disease. So this is a burden. This is actually, if you talk in the two terms, it is not a treatment, it is a burden. Pharmacovigilance in Ayush was launched by the ministry in 2018, almost 20 years after it came into modern science. And to be very true, the perspective of Ayush is very different from modern science, but yes, it is required. Now we are doing the same work. Our college is an intermediary center, peripheral center. Our college is a peripheral center. So I see sir working with his team to collect the data and information, newspaper advertisements, cuttings, etc. So we are basically collecting all the evidences to provide to the stakeholders. Then we are creating a database. Actually, the higher centers are creating a database, and the database will be supported from the ADR responses from everywhere, from us, from wherever these people are collecting, from newspapers, I told you, from advertisements on the television, everywhere. And there will be a surveillance. So I cannot simply go on stage and say, anybody come to me for this disease, I'll cure it 100%. It should not be like that. Even the pharmaceutical companies have got very straight and clear instructions regarding this, but still people are doing it. So we require pharmacovigilance in ASUNH. A is Ayurveda, S is Siddha and Sovarikpa. U is Unani and H is homeopathy. Okay, so these are the systems which dispense molecular drug substances. So why is it required in ASUNH systems? Because we have very few clinical trials. That's correct. Our systems have fewer clinical trials because our drugs are considered to be safer. We have a different plane of action and preparation. But that does not certify us to use our drugs to any extent. And so pharmacovigilance is required. Secondly, this is a very, very current issue, and both these drugs are having homeopathic medicines as well. Ephedra and Aristolochia both are sources of homeopathic medicines also, besides Ayurvedic and Siddha medicines. So there are a lot of drugs in our systems which produce hepatotoxicity. In COVID, you must have heard in newspapers, there was a lot of news about the kadha, the kashayam and trikuta, which is actually a very, very valuable medicine. But people used it in the wrong way. The decoctions were prepared were much more concentrated than what was prescribed. So what happened? A lot of people reported to the doctors with gastritis. Old patients of gastritis and ulcers came up with acute presentations. So this is very important, and the reason of them being important is that our drugs are largely from the herbal sources, and herbal sources are rich in the active principles. So this is the segment of our drugs which has to be actually taken care of. I'll give you one more example. Few years back, one of our friends who thought that homeopathy and Ayurveda are alike asked us that how do you use such heavy metals in your system? So I was able to answer about homeopathy, that we potentize and all. But then I thought that it is very important to know that systems are using heavy metals, and heavy metals are are a load to the body. They are quite toxic. So how are they made and used? But then I realized that our systems have a method of preparation whereby the load is not rendered on the body largely, unless and until grossly used. So still we require a pharmacovigilant activity to keep an eye on all this. And information is very scarcely available because we were never trained to accumulate data. Like we keep telling you that every case should be properly taken and recorded and even documented, and if possible, it should be published. But if not possible, then at least we should have data of everything, so that if at any point of time there is any such reporting and you are asked a question about your prescription, then you have the evidence that the drug was given as per these principles of homeopathy. That is the idea. Now, I've just named the ASUNH medical systems. I forgot Sovarikpa, I'm sorry. S is for Siddha and Sovarikpa. Siddha is the South Indian practice. In Tamil it is written. It is very close to Ayurveda, but it was developed by the Siddharas of Tamil. And Sovarikpa is the Buddhist, the Himalayan system of practice of herbs. So in all these systems, we have antidotes, complementaries, cognates, we have inimicals. And all this somewhere tells the practitioner that you have to be vigilant. You have to do the pharmacovigilance yourself. How many are doing that is not known, but our systems of practice are different. So every time, if you have seen, I try to prescribe on a relationship of medicine, and this is my way of doing because I've learned it from my teachers. But we try to relate it, and we try to work on the second prescription also immediately. The reason is the same, that drugs have to be understood not as today's option, but as a coming response as well. Now, WHO definition, we all are after WHO now. Our lives are driven by WHO. Needless to say that they have their own interests and agendas, but they have gotten definition for this, which you can read. Now, how did this concept of pharmacovigilance fit in the modern science? See, one thing which we should appreciate about modern science is that they are quite alert. Not all, but largely they are alert. Maybe because they are dispensing very crude chemical substances, maybe. But they are coming up with improvements. And that is one reason of their enhanced popularity. So we have to really check this front. But it was long back. We have got so many evidences. But there was a very popular example of the nuclear bomb in Japan, which led to anemic conditions and then the blood cancers of different types. So a lot of studies were done regarding it. But that time, nobody had the concept of pharmacovigilance because it was a bomb and not a medicine. So you take it from any source. If it is toxic, it is toxic. It is going to harm your body. And gradually, there were examples of sulfonamide deaths, etc., etc. You can read it. Pre-toxicity levels were high. I'll give you this presentation. I don't want to highlight a lot on history, but definitely, thalidomide has been the starting point of pharmacovigilance. Mothers were being given this drug, and the children who were born with gross irreparable deformities. And this was the point of time when a law came into action to address this. You can see the photographs of the children who are born from the mothers who were consuming thalidomide. So this kind of disability, inability of the fetus to grow in a proportion, you can see in the central picture that the parts are there, the buddings are there. All the four limbs can be seen as buds, but they did not develop. So it had got a very specific depacting effect on the development of the limbs. So then came up the concept of pharmacovigilance in Ayush some 20 years later. And in Ayush, we have to see both the perspectives, the medicinal part as well, and the individual part as well. That is very important because we all know idiosyncrasy. And so all our Ayush systems have got this concept that a normal drug, an indicated right drug given to a person can produce an idiosyncratic condition, so-called as adverse reaction. And hence we have to look upon to the people as well. Okay, and so our history becomes even more important, whereby we ask people about certain drug reactions or inacceptance to certain food substances. You will get people who will tell you that if they consume a particular thing, they will get urticaria rashes. So what is urticaria? It is an anaphylactic reaction of your body. So this is how you have to think upon pharmacovigilance from the homeopathic or the Ayush perspective. Now, dissemination and advertisement of improper drug information. I create a drug. I say that I have come up with experiments. I've done drug proving on my students. And then I publish a literature that eating this will increase the height from 5 inches to 15 inches. Now, I cannot disseminate any target-based or any specific result-oriented information about a drug substance unless and until I have done first a pilot study, then a proper clinical study, and then a research to re-establish its use in the community. And then larger research platforms like surveys are to be used to see its effectiveness. So I cannot write this. And so the literature of the drug is the, the point where everybody hits. What is written in it and what does it claim? So if you will see, a medicine called NICE. You've heard of it? NICE is a very popular preparation. It's given for fever. It is a very mild form of antipyretic. But if you read the literature, it clearly states that it is indicated in children. Actually, it is mild. It is as per the body weight. So it clearly mentions that repeated use of this drug in children can cause hepatotoxicity and even dysfunction in the longer run. So it is a very harmful drug, should be used only under emergency conditions. So this is where we can say that the modern science is kind of ahead of us. We have to do this part as well in our drugs and their reactions. And that we should begin today. So there has to be a very systematic method of collecting the data, all the wrong information. Suppose you write on your patient's prescription that this is the finding and you're very enthusiastic about it and you claim that 3 months are required to cure it or whatever. So that becomes a point of vigilance. You cannot claim. You have to use support evidence. You have to ask the patient for a follow-up. You have to do frequent reporting, investigations. And if you achieve something, then you have to clearly and thoroughly investigate what other things the patient was doing and taking. It was not only your drug which helped. So this is very important. Now, another thing is safety, that you have to establish the safety of your drug. Can be consumed so many times for this age of people. Can be repeated at this frequency. We all have read Organon of Medicine. It says that when there are irreversible pathological changes and we are only affecting the patient in terms of maintenance or of status quo or improving functions to a little extent if possible, then we are giving a patient a treatment which is known as palliative. So in a palliative treatment, we are very clear about the safety of the drug, that it will not deteriorate the condition of the patient. Okay? Am I understandable? Not yet. Everybody is sleeping. Are you awake? Okay. So now, what is an unexpected adverse reaction? Basically, an unexpected reaction is beyond what is mentioned about that drug. Whatever is mentioned in that drug is its reaction, but anything beyond that will be adverse drug reaction. Okay, so which is unexpected, which is unstipulated, which is sometimes even not measurable. Okay, so that is an adverse drug reaction. Now, I would like to focus on the difference between two terms. One is severity and one is seriousness. Please listen carefully. If you get a question on ADR and you write this difference and I am the examiner, then you get full marks. Severity is what the patient experiences after taking a substance in the form of a drug to get relieved from certain presentations, either in the form of a symptom group or as a disease. So whatever the patient experiences is the severity. Patient will tell you it's little, it's mild, it's moderate, it's severe, it's unbearable. So this is the severity. How much does it affect the daily living of the patient? Is he or she able to do the normal life work, go to the toilet, take water, do such things or not? So the severity analysis is done on the reaction of the patient and the performance of the patient, whereas the seriousness analysis is done by the adverse drug reporters. It is an analytical front where you may be saying that I have this, but those the people who are analyzing, who are getting the form filled from you, are going to analyze it in a different way because they know which molecule has gone and what is the effect. So the seriousness part is the outcome of that drug effect. And the drug effect is actually the severity. And in analysis of the seriousness, the basic analysis which they do is it life-threatening or not? Is the patient going to die because of the drug or not? In 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 year. That is the analysis. That is the way things are done. If you have done a little analysis of the anti-diabetic drugs which are in the market, there's a very good analysis which says that use of this drug for 15 years will lead to the hormonal variations on this front. If the patient is a female, this will happen. As a male, this will happen. In females, the likeliness of developing this is more. In males, this is more. So it's done like that. So the seriousness is actually the outcome which the stakeholders decide. Now, Adverse event, again, the definitions. I just want to tell you the difference between what an adverse event is and what a side effect is. Everybody says that homeopathy has no side effects. Do you agree? Water has side effects? Water has side effects or not? When you drown in it, isn't it? Is it true or not? So side effect is an unintended effect, which was not estimated. So since definitely homeopathic medicines have a smaller span of action, or we can say a more calculated span of action. But adverse event is something else and side effect is something else. Okay, so unintended effect occurring at normal dose related to the pharmacological properties. A normal dose was given, but the patient developed something else, a third condition. Whereas in adverse effect or adverse event, it is a medical occurrence which will occur after taking a drug for a specific duration of time, maybe temporary, maybe little long, and it is associated with that product only. Every time the product is taken, you will get the adverse event. Understood? So adverse event is a drug specific or substance specific reaction where a side effect is much, much wider. I will brush up. Now, when we are talking about homeopathy, I could not stop myself. I've added 3 slides for homeopathy and the types of ADRs which you will get in homeopathy. I don't know about other systems. So one is augmented pharmacologic effect. That is, the desired effect is expressed in a slightly more, a higher level. We can call it the medicinal aggravation, or we can even call it the homeopathic aggravation if it comes down normally on its own. It can be an idiosyncratic reaction, that is the person's reaction. It can be. Person as an individual is reacting, other people are not reacting to it in that manner. It can be in the form of a chronic effect, that is, you're taking the medicine over the period of time and you're developing a particular effect whose degree is increasing. It can be a delayed effect. Earlier, I did not have it, but now I have developed this change. Okay, and it can be end-to-end treatment effect. You took the medicine here, you got that effect immediately. If I have listed them down, if you read Dr. Kent's observations, you will cover almost everything. And if you see the last one, it is failure of therapy. That is no result of the therapy. So the desired result is missing. Okay, so in homeopathy, we are looking forward to ADRs in this kind. And if you look at these listed perspectives of homeopathy, that is drug proving, which is done on healthy humans of both the sexes of all age groups. And the drug proving is a documentation of symptoms which develop. And what are we talking about? Adverse ADR is symptoms which develop. Isn't it? So differences in drug proving, you're doing it on the healthy person, and ADR, we are doing it on the sick person. So this is very close to homeopathy. Actually, this is an area where we can actually prove our efficacy very well. Then the dose, the repetition, and the potency again is very well outlined in homeopathy. If you do not follow the principles, or if you do not read between the lines to the reaction of the patient, then you miss on this. So these are the areas in homeopathy whereby we will achieve better results. This is my way of thinking that if you want to be safe, if you want to have least possible adverse drug reactions in your homeopathic practice, try not to give too large doses, try not to repeat very frequently. Cruder forms should be used less. We all know this. Combinations should not be used unless certified and proven. You can prove it. You can do a pilot study, but you have to take an ethical clearance for it if you're doing it in an institution. If you are doing it in your private clinic, you have to take ethical clearance from the nearest government center. Okay, so and you have to get it registered in CTRI, Clinical Trial Registry of India. Mind it, if you don't do it, your work is null and white. Nobody is going to publish it. You cannot claim it. ADR may law will apply to you as it would apply to a non-researcher. So if you want to do a research, a lot of scientists have done. People are coming up with new medicines. They are first identifying the drug substance. They are then preparing it in accordance to the pharmacopoeias. They are then using it, but before using it, they have to write the protocol, they have to take the institutional human ethical approval, then the CTI registration, and then they start it. That is the way you can do it. And self-medication should be avoided. This is for the patients. Now, severity. Now, I told you severity and how it occurs earlier. Now, seriousness is something which, if reported in your work, will land you into trouble. So please sense the severity of your patients and work upon it. If your patient has reacted, try to antidote it, try to work upon the patient. There is no harm in referring the patient to a higher center. There is no harm in monitoring the patient in a multi-speciality hospital. It's okay. Your drug has a different plane of action. But at that time, at least you're safe from the idea that you have not led the patient into seriousness. The patient has not to some serious events or death. So this is my suggestion. I've tried to compile a thank you slide whereby there are two quotations which I would like to read to you. There was a day when somebody taught me these quotations and today they work in my life. Good doctors understand responsibility better than privilege and practice accountability better than business. The best doctor gives the least medicine. Thank you for your patient listening. I'm very thankful to Dr. Falklothi sir for giving me this opportunity, and I hope you people have benefited. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your precious and valuable speech on perspective of pharmacovigilance in Ayush healthcare and medical system.